what Russell Wilson is getting offered. The idea of liking a tweet talking about Walmart money, the new owners of the Broncos being able to pay Russell Wilson that type of money suggests that maybe Lamar would be interested in a contract like that, which changes everything. Because prior to this, I could understand the Baltimore Ravens and Steve Bisciotti saying just because the Browns did something somewhat unprecedented doesn't mean we have to. But I cannot, for the life of me, understand why they wouldn't pay him top of the market money that's not fully guaranteed, like Russell or like Patrick Mahomes or like any of these other guys who have gotten, Josh Allen, who have gotten contracts recently. So it kind of raises some questions, and it's been quiet negotiations from both sides so far. It'll be interesting to find out the details when we do.
Well, let's show everybody what you're talking about. So in case anyone didn't see it, because Lamar Jackson has been very quiet coming out of there. So the only time we really hear from him has been on social media. So here's what Dominique is talking about. Marlon Humphrey tweeted, Walmart money different, meaning those are the new owners in Denver and the Russell Wilson contract extension, to which Lamar Jackson responded, to be completely honest, I had to ask a lot of people what that meant. But I guess it means I swear, like he's co-signing, right? That idea. Dominique, help me with this because I don't know that I'm using the right words to describe what that means. But basically, he's saying, yes, you're right. They've got a lot more money, and he's essentially. How would you interpret what it is he's saying there, candidly?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it right on the money right there. But to me, what it suggests is that money is different over there. They have the ability to offer and the willingness to offer and sign that type of money would suggest that Baltimore does not or has not, which is shocking to me because I thought it was about getting like over 250 guaranteed. If you can't get like 160 guaranteed, then I don't know what the Ravens are doing. They're trying to enter this season in a situation where they might be rooting against their own quarterback. Like the better he plays, the more he accomplishes the things that I suspect they all want to accomplish, the more expensive he's going to get. For the life of me, I can't understand that they're not going to sign him for something close to what Russell has received.
Fair enough. So, Jeremy Fowler, my insider extraordinaire. Let me ask you the question that I think is on the minds of every Ravens fan and maybe every football fan. Yeah. What the actual heck is going on in that negotiation right now? We're 9 days from them kicking off their season.
Yeah, so I've been asking around this morning. The people I talked to remain skeptical that something will get done by week one. I'm told the Deshaun Watson deal has complicated matters for a long time because of that $230 million all guaranteed. I'm told the Ravens have tried in the last month. They've upped their offer, but it's just not quite enough. And talking to some people around the league, to Dominique's point, there's a feeling as they're trying, do they really want to try hard enough to get it done? Because they know what it would take. It would take a massive number that they're just not comfortable with right now. So this is shaping up to be a 2-year standoff. Because he's on the last year of his deal, then they would franchise tag him next year.
Mike T, I mean, you're a general manager. What does that do? If this is a 2-year standoff, if he plays this season without a deal, if they franchise him next year, I understand he gets a bunch of money. What does it do?
It's destabilizing because it's hard to build your team when you have a massive question mark. Are you franchising him? Is it the exclusive tag? Would somebody give multiple first-round picks? Do we draft somebody? Do we need a veteran to pair with the draft choice? It's hard to put a team around uncertainty, and we saw that with Kirk Cousins for a number of years in Washington. So if I'm the Ravens, I lock Lamar in a room this weekend. I throw out the high, I throw out the low, and I come up with something that we can both live with, because without a Greenie, this will be the first question that John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson are asked all season long. Any updates? And it becomes draining. It becomes a distraction. And the task at hand should be like, hey, the offseason's over. Let's go win a championship.
So Diana told us yesterday that the expectation is that with or without an extension that he is going to play the season. Very quickly, Dominique, and whenever we talk about Lamar Jackson, I think back to this picture that we had. I think we have it here of you taking your son to a game and your son is wearing a Lamar Jackson jersey. And so, I mean, there's a human element to all of this, right? That's a video that Dominique took, and that's his son there wearing, a Lamar shirt.
Chiefs game.
And there's a human being, right, we're talking about, who is sitting there with the ability to sign a contract that is going to change, the next 7 generations for his family. And he might be about to go out there and play without it and put himself in harm's way, which is what football players do. If he were to call you up and say, hey, should I play this season without this deal, what would you tell him?
I'd say absolutely, because I think he is outstanding. And I understand that he could expose himself to some injury. But again, like we talked about in the first segment, This is a risky game, and that's part of it. You know what I think actually happens? Worst case scenario is that he has a mediocre season. Are the Ravens going to then move on? No. He's going to play the 5th year. He's going to get franchised and continue to get paid. Best case scenario is the price just keeps going up because he plays like the Lamar Jackson that we saw last year prior to injury, like the Lamar Jackson that we saw the year prior to that. Frankly, like the only Lamar Jackson we really know as a centerpiece of this offense that is dominant. So I suspect that there's nothing but good things will happen if Lamar goes out there and plays the way that we know he's capable of.
All right, starting after week 1, I certainly hope that he does. Week 1, they play the Jets. I have mixed feelings. All right, hold the football for a minute because we had a Woj bomb yesterday. And Russell Wilson agreeing on a 5-year, $245 million extension that includes $165 million in guaranteed money. That's the 3rd most in NFL history. Here was Russell Wilson after the deal yesterday.
I had an amazing first, decade in my career. The next decade, I'm really excited about. I think that we want to make this a destination location. I think that it's one of those things. We have amazing tradition, an amazing football team. For me, it wasn't really about how much necessarily. It was about how many Super Bowls we can win. I wanted to be here for a long time. I believe this is a marriage, and you want to be here for a long time. And my goal is to be able to finish my career here.
All right, so let's dive into this one deeply. Mike Tannenbaum, you were with me yesterday. Jeremy Fowler here. Dominique, you were with me yesterday when Adam Schefter broke the story while we were on the air. And my immediate reaction was slam dunk all the way around. And then the day went on, Dominique, and I was somewhat surprised to hear a bit of a narrative emerging asking the question, will the Broncos regret this long and extremely expensive extension with Russell Wilson? What's the answer to that question, Dominique?
Absolutely not. Like, I understand the argument that Russell kind of unleashed with new ownership, first-year head coach, and with out of the structure of Pete Carroll's kind of restrictive offensive philosophy that maybe he's not going to be the player that he was in the past. And he wasn't playing that well towards the end of his time there last season. I can understand that argument, but I think it's absurd. Like, the game is a football, and life in general is about risk. And this is not a high risk. He's a great, great player. And right now they've locked him up until 2028, I believe, at 2022 prices. So this is a smart deal for the Broncos. It's hard to imagine a team that's been in quarterback purgatory for quite some time regretting locking up a guy that is a Super Bowl caliber player and gives you a chance in just about every game with that talent that they have around him.
Mike T, if you were the general manager there, would you have had any pause about the deal they did yesterday?
No, because you have a chance to win a championship, as Dominique just alluded to. Look, when you look to your left and your right, it's Patrick Mahomes and it's Justin Herbert. So it's the cost of doing business to play in the AFC West. But with that said, Greeny, from 2024 to 2025, his cap number goes up by $20 million. So they will lose some good players in a couple years when his cap number is about $55 million. That could be Patrick Surtain, Javonte Williams, and that's not ideal. But you know what? Playing quarterback with Drew Lock isn't ideal either. So you get the quarterback and you put as many good pieces around him, and now they have a chance to compete year in and year out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people who are complaining about this deal or questioning it are the ones who have ones who root for teams that have great quarterbacks. Because there are two kinds of teams in the NFL: those who have guys like Russell Wilson, and those who desperately need one. That's the way I see it anyway. And you all know where I come from on all this. What'd you hear around the league after this was announced yesterday?
Well, the key is Seattle here because, asking around the league, they were not saying let's ride to this contract a year ago when they decided to trade him. They were feeling like we need to rebuild our roster. We're not going to go all in. They knew if they kept Russell Wilson there, they would have had to have redone that deal in a major way. And they wanted to get better in some other areas where Denver said, hey, have you seen our quarterback roster the last 7 years? Like, we are fine with this contract. And they can get out of it down the road. It's not fully guaranteed. So after 4 years, if there's some sort of decline in play, they can move on. They are certainly not expecting that right now.
Fair enough. And look, the fully guaranteed piece of this, I understand that's an important part of this story in the big picture of the NFL. But I still want to stay on the specifics. Dominique, I feel like people are downgrading, underplaying, underrating, and understating Russell Wilson. I still consider him to be in the handful of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe he's not Aaron Rodgers, and maybe that's always been his problem, that he sees himself as Aaron Rodgers, and he isn't. But he's only a half a step down, which puts him a full step at least above almost everybody else. How good do you think Russell Wilson is right this minute?
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson is great, but I'm not sure that he is like all-time great, which is what we thought he was on the trajectory to be. And we saw what happened to kind of his career, and it's not terrible, obviously, but we thought that the league, and I think he thought that the league was going to be handed over to him after Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers aged out. They never aged out. And then a bunch of young guys showed up and started playing better. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And it feels like he's kind of this lost guy in the middle. And I think that he probably has a chip on his shoulder because of it. So we can expect him trying to come out and reestablish himself as one of those all-time greats and kind of take back the league that I think he believed would be his if those old guys would ever hang it up, even though it seems like they're never going to.
Yeah, well, look, Brady is still there, and Rodgers is still there, and maybe sometimes to some degree they give people the wrong impression of what we should be perceiving an old player to be. One way or another, Mike Tannenbaum, there was a list of quarterbacks in the NFL who you say, I've got him, I've got a chance. There isn't any question that Russell Wilson is still on that list, right?
Exactly right, Greeny. And again, the inverse is catastrophic. And you know it being a Jet fan over the last couple of years when you have question marks, or you look at the Colts who go from Carson Wentz and Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett. If you don't have that position solidified, you have no chance, especially in the superpowers of the AFC when we talk about Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, on and on and on. So at least they have a chance. And he's not ideal. He's a little short. He's 33, but he's won a championship. You can win championships with Russell Wilson. He's probably not top 5. He's certainly top 10. And again, the alternative is you have no hope.
Nick, why are you making that face? Is it because I became collateral damage with the Jets in there?
No, it's more because listening to Tannenbaum talk about how you need these great quarterbacks today, and also listening to him yesterday talking about how people need to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. It just is an interesting juxtaposition or contradiction.
Well,
if you think
we appreciate you watching.
Hold that thought. We will get to Jimmy Garoppolo a little later. Super quick. Does this have a major impact on the Lamar Jackson situation? That's the other part of it, and we'll deal with him mostly later. But the guaranteed money piece of this, what did people around the league say about it yesterday?
Well, the feeling around the league is that Lamar Jackson's going to want stronger guarantees on a deal, which is why